Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane, with me, Rich Wilson. And this week I'm joined by the brilliant Trevor Lock. How are you, mate?
All right, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm embarrassed that I stood you up earlier.
No, don't be silly.
Apart from that, I've got yeah, it's good. Yeah,
I think we're under so much pressure to be places and do things, especially with what we do. Whereas when we started in comedy, you know, all we had to worry about was getting to the gigs, writing material.
yeah,
And now there's so many other things we still have to take care of that every now and again you just can't help, but you just go, because you know, well, I've got to go and do this, I've got to go and do that. There's always going to be something that slips through the net.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, yeah. I basically told myself I was having a week off, and I just,
Which is fine.
and because I told myself I was having a week off, even though there's stuff in the diary, to be honest, I'm not very good at organising myself. I put you in the because we were supposed to do it a couple of weeks ago, and I remembered that one against all the odds. I was really busy that week, and I remembered that one. And because I think I've got nothing on this week. That's why, you know.
But I think that's also in your head. You kind of like, there's a part of it that goes, "Oh yeah, we did that because we were meant to do it."
Quite
you know, and your brain just files it away.
I turned up. I turned up to my own kitchen
I was there
at 10:00.
But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot. I am getting used to it. I have begun to accept that this is our life now. It does make me laugh though when, like, the other day I was just sitting and I clicked on TikTok. I clicked on followers or people that we know, and there's lots of people that you and I know.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even watching the video. I was just watching like the first like half a second, and they were all the same videos. They were all of a comedian walking along saying stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like that, which I do. I do those videos as well.
Yeah.
And you go, I'm sure not. How is anyone watching any of this?
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. Yeah. I mean, I don't really watch much. I don't really understand it well enough to be able to use it properly. But occasionally, I mean, I realise now. I mean, you know, that the reason I'm doing this is because we message each other on Instagram, and but I don't really use it to its full, or even half of its capability. It is basically another WhatsApp for me still, you know, or a slightly different shaped Facebook.
Yes,
I haven't embraced it, and and I don't think I will. Yeah.
Do you think you need? I mean, you know, in your career, you've achieved so much already. Do you think you're in a place where you don't really need to? You're sort of
well, I've given
doing
up,
things,
Rich. So you know, I mean, that's no. Well, I suppose I don't know. Maybe a year ago, I thought, oh no, I can do this because I coach comics sometimes, and some of them, you know, they're obviously a lot younger than me, and some of them have really got Instagram nailed. And I was a surprise special guest for one of the people that I coach on some European dates last September, and you know there was only 100 people in the room, but the room only held 100 people, so you know it was a nice buzzy atmosphere for a week, and I was thinking, my God, I've got to get on this, and they were explaining to me how they think of a good title, put together a nice graphic, whack it up on Instagram, and pay for targeted ads. And Bob's your uncle. They're doing a sold out tour of Europe.
Wow!
So I thought, oh, I've got to get on. I've got to get on that. And I tried, but I thought I can't do it. I'll get someone who knows how to do it. And then I did 4 shows in February, and they still haven't paid me. So, I've given up really now. I'm moving into other areas. Yeah.
I know what you mean. I tell, like everyone said, you've got to tell people where they can find you on the socials, and we even ask at the end of this. We say, where can we find you? And so at gigs, I've started to do it, but nobody follows me. I don't get anything from it. Yeah. I don't know if it's an age thing or people just aren't interested, or Did you have a
Oh, I
really
don't
good
know.
gig, and then you do it, and then sort of,
Well,
I don't know, it's
I found
weird.
that used to happen a few years ago, but it doesn't happen anymore. I can remember it used to happen a lot at the Fringe. I'd do a show, and then there would be a flood of followers, new followers, and then. But now it's very rare. I don't know. I think people are bored of social media now. I think it was.
I
I,
think you're
I, I
right.
think. I think so. It's like they follow enough people. It hasn't changed their life. So what's the point of following anyone else? Is that really? You know what I mean? It's like.
Yeah,
That's
I
my
think you're
vibe.
right.
Is that no, who cares? You know, I mean, and it's kind of like, well, do you know what? I know who you are, and if I do need to find you on socials, I can just find you and add you. Then I don't need to add you now. Do you know what I mean? I think
Mm.
that's um, so. And if I forget who you are, then clearly I wasn't meant to need to know anything more about you. I don't know. I don't think I need to follow anyone. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
if suddenly somebody I saw 2 years ago, oh God, that was brilliant. Well, I'll find them. I'm not going to find them any easier on all the people I do already follow on Instagram. Do you know what I mean? It's like
I
how
do.
do you find someone that you don't know who you're trying to find on that you're following? It's not easy. They don't have that search facility, do they? I did. I
There's
had to
been a
do it the other
couple.
day.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Go
know,
on.
I had to find someone that I knew I was following, but I couldn't quite remember their name. And of course, even if I could, that doesn't mean that that's their handle. So you're just scrolling through. You can't go, oh, Instagram, find me that person that you know what they're like, the ones that the one that I'll know it when I see it. Can you find me that? No, they don't understand that.
I know exactly what you mean. I've had to do that as well, and you kind of. I had it the other day. I was even scrolling, and then suddenly realised I was scrolling the wrong name. I had that completely wrong.
Right.
It's like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're
So
this.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it's I think it's some. I mean, also, well, it's not. You know, that I'm talking about Instagram. Do you do TikTok?
I get spurts where I go yeah, and then I put stuff on it, and then I get bored. I go, "Oh, I can't be
Yeah.
asked. It's just yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. Someone messaged me the other day on Facebook um, because they don't have Instagram and they don't have TikTok, so they found me on Facebook, and so that was quite a useful thing. I don't know them. They don't really know me. They just heard of me. They read about me
Mm.
somewhere else on the internet, and was interested in a thing I'd done. So they tracked me down on the internet, found me on Facebook, and then we could have a conversation. So it kind of works like that. You know, every now and again, uh, it is useful because
Yeah.
yeah, somebody might want to contact you about something, but as a genuine money making tool, it's never going to work for me. I don't think. But maybe that's the wrong attitude. If I have that attitude, of course, it's never going to work for me.
This is it. You have to have positivity. You have to project positivity. I will say though, actually, I've been doing that the last month or so, and because there was a while I was just like, you know, I'd get another parking ticket or I'd get this or get
Yeah,
that, and I'm like, oh, why is this happening to me? And then suddenly I just had this. I went, yeah, because you parked in the wrong place, you knobhead.
yeah, yeah.
It's this all the things that keep happening. It's because
It's your fault.
you keep doing things.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
and waiting for things. I was always like, oh yeah, when the right project comes along, then I'll be able to do this. And I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I waiting for this? And
yeah,
I had this idea, and I just went, oh fuck it, and I sent it to someone. I said, can I just run something by you? And to my astonishment, he got back and went, this is a great idea. And I'm like, huh, oh, right. And that kind of changed everything. He was like, oh
yeah,
yeah, go and do it, or try
yeah,
and do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
And
I
it
agree.
and it's that positive energy.
Yeah, yeah. If you're lucky enough to have it, I mean, yeah, positive energy works, but not everybody is lucky enough to have it. I think that's my experience anyway. There are days. I think there's a lot of people consider me quite a positive person,
Mm.
but I know me better than other people do, and sometimes I'm not positive, even though I know the power of positive thinking and positive energy. You're just not capable sometimes. It's and then I think you can beat yourself up because you should be positive. It's all down to your attitude, and you have the wrong attitude, and apparently there's nothing you can do to change that attitude, and then that spirals into. So it's tricky. It's tricky.
It's really difficult. I know exactly what you mean. When yes, you see all these things, and it's like, oh, if you just do this, you'll feel that, and blah blah blah. But sometimes when you wake up in the morning and you just go, oh, fuck off.
Yeah. Or you might not wake up in the morning and go, oh, fuck off. You might wake up in the morning and go, come on then. And then, someone else will tell you to fuck off. And then that's, it's such a, it's tricky. So what I do is when I am positive, I just try and absolutely make the most of it, knowing that, make hay while the sun shines and all that, because, it doesn't stick around for long.
I think that's exactly it. I think there's an assumption that people make that once you hit that positive streak, it's going to keep being you're going to keep being positive, and you're never going to look back and you go,
exactly.
No, it's like it just ebbs and flows, doesn't it? It comes and goes, and you'd have and I think it's that ride that wave while it's happening, and then when it goes again, have a biscuit.
Exactly. Yeah, have a biscuit.
Don't beat yourself up.
Well, exactly, and that's the other thing. Don't lose twice. You're having a bad day. Don't beat yourself up because you're having a bad day.
Yes, and I think a few things have happened lately that have sort of changed my outlook on things. Especially, I used to lug the past around things from way back, from when I was at school.
Yeah,
and then I had this thing. I don't know if I said this on the last one, but I was doing a gig. And there was someone from I knew was going to be there from school. She's sort of been to a couple of my gigs, and she's great. Her name's Adele Gardner. She's brilliant, and her husband go off travelling, do all these things. Brilliant couple. They were there, and the gig was sort of 10 minutes away from the town I grew up in. So I was slagging off the town, saying how I was glad I moved away and blah blah blah. And it had got a bit weird because obviously they're still living in that area. So you know, and then Adele said, "Oh, someone else is here from school." And I went, "Who?" And she went, "Oh, it's Kelly over there." And I went, "Oh my God." And she lived like 5 minutes from my parents' house. Used to go to the same youth club, went to the same school. We even went out together for about a week when we were like, I don't know how old we were, 13, maybe 12, 13, 14. Which doesn't count, but it was still, we still knew each other. She didn't have a clue who I was. Didn't have a clue.
Wow. Amazing.
And it suddenly made me realise, like, no one remembers you, really.
Wow. I doubt that, man. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. I remember everything.
I do.
I had a last year, I think it was, my old headmaster came to one of my shows, and a girl that was in my class at the same school, she came, and they were in the same show. By coincidence, our old headmaster came to one of my shows on the same day that she came to one of my shows. Now, I didn't recognise her, but as soon as she told me her name, of course I recognised her. Well, I still didn't recognise her, but I remembered her because I don't know. People change. It's 30, 40 years ago. So, but the name is like the names of all my class members are sort of burned into my memory. Like, well, I wouldn't recognise them, but if I hear that name, I hear names now that and they're the same as people I went to school with. And I sort of, Ian Flewitt, Neil Worth. I think I probably know all the people. I can remember all the names of everyone in my class when I was 12. So I reckon she was bullshitting you. I reckon she was playing cool because you were a comedian. And,
you reckon?
I think Kelly was playing cool because you just slagged her town off.
Yeah.
I think that's what you get for slagging off someone's town. Don't know who you are. Who are you? No idea. Who are you? Who even are you?
I think at one point I'd even talked about wanting to have a statue built in the town of me, and then slags it off.
Which town is it?
Orpington. It's near Bromley, sort of south.
Yeah, I know Orpington. Yeah.
And sort of David Bowie came from Bromley, and Susie Sue, Josie Long comes from Orpington. I think Jack Deesum over there as well.
Right.
But I'd spent a good 5 minutes slagging the place off, and then, but then maybe I was just an unremarkable person. I do remember being more of an in-betweener at school. I was sort of like, I knew the cool kids and I knew the others. I knew I was in between, sort of bouncing around in between. So which probably meant I didn't really leave a mark anywhere.
Yeah. But you went out with her for a week, Rich. Come on.
A week with Rich Wilson. I mean, shocking.
But to be fair, some people do have terrible memories. I'm always astonished to find this out, but a friend of mine reminded me of it recently. We're the same age, and he says, "Well, you remember everything, Trev, but I don't remember anything." And
I can't believe that.
I think there are some people that don't. Yeah. But I am not one of them. I think. I mean, when it comes to childhood, like things that happened in the last, I don't know, 10 years, maybe a little bit harder. Somebody said something the other day, but yeah, childhood is absolutely resonant.
Yeah, I think. I think I know what you mean. As you get older, I don't, for whatever reason, those things don't tend to get lodged as much. But yeah, I remember, I can still, there were certain smells. I go, boy, that reminds me of school dinners in 1977.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just before the first lockdown, I did a gig in Northamptonshire, in Kettering, and I grew up on the other side of the county, but they apparently use the same kind of, I don't know, there's some kind of smell in the toilets in this cricket club in Kettering that was the same as my cricket club in Budbrook, and I hadn't smelt it since 1988.
Wow!
And it brought tears. Yeah. It just absolutely got me in the solar plexus. It was an amazing thing to smell that after all those years, and I think also to hear Northampton accents. Yeah.
Yeah, the Northampton accent is where I always think of Andrew Bird when I think of Northampton.
I don't know Andrew Bird. Yeah.
He's a fantastic comic, and he's got that he's very Northampton. Well, he grew up in Toaster.
Okay, that's not far from me. Yeah.
So when you hear him, he's got a certain way of saying certain things.
No, that's my hometown accent. Yeah. I should. Yeah. I'll probably bump into him next week now. Yeah. Yeah. I know who he is, but we've never gigged together. I've never met him. Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, mind you, I don't think we ever gigged together. I don't know if we have.
Yes.
Must have done.
I gigged with you in the Edinburgh Fringe about 10 years ago, a couple of times.
Yes, we did.
You hosted a poetry versus comedy thing.
Of course, yeah. Stand up and slam. Yeah. That was excellent. I used to love doing that. So all of that happening kind of changed everything for me. I go, oh yeah, rather than lugging the past around thinking, oh, that person thinks I'm an idiot, that person thinks I'm a dick. It's like they don't vaguely remember meeting you, let alone worrying about that.
Unless they're Trevor Lock, and then he will remember you. Yeah.
He's got filing cabinets in his head full of information.
Yeah. He won't know what you look like, but he'll remember your name. Yeah.
He knows if you've wronged him, and he knows if you've been good to him. They're all in his cabinets. But we talk a lot about this. This is a mental health podcast, but not in a way there's a lot of mental health stuff out there now, and we just tend to. It's more about talking about your life and things you've done, and how you just it's like two blokes in a pub having a chat.
Yeah.
And and I find from that people tend to get more from that rather than talking explicitly about mental health.
Yeah.
And but then but how do you feel? What do you feel about this? Do you think it's a good thing now that because it seems to be a lot now? Everyone's talking about it.
Oh, I don't know. I don't talk about it. No, it's not my thing. I've never had a therapist, and uh, but a lot of my friends are therapists, and not a lot of my friends are therapists. That's an exaggeration. One of my closest friends is a therapist, and but a lot of my friends go to therapy. I've got another friend who's in a men's group, goes to a men's group, and yeah, and then So I don't know. I think it's probably good. I think it's probably good. Why wouldn't it be good? What is the downside? Any tool can be used for bad.
Yeah.
You can you can bop someone on the head with a heavy spanner. That's not what it's designed to do. So yeah, therapy can go wrong. I'm sure people overdo it. I'm sure people talk too much. Or I think there's a lot of things that there's this thing called spiritual bypassing, isn't there? Where have you heard that term?
No.
Well, it's a thing I've come across recently where people find a spiritual tool and misuse it. So they like the idea. Some people think that there's free will, and some people think there's no free will, and if people think there's no free will, then they can misuse that argument to avoid responsibility, avoid taking responsibility.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For example.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And I think it's very good to be intuitive. It's very good to get into your feelings, and it's good to be rational as well. But maybe if you're too rational or your feelings are undeveloped, it's good to be aware of your feelings. But then if you act on every feeling you have, and if you just sit down with a stranger who you've never met and then get a bad feeling and then just think they're a bad person, maybe that's misusing a tool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah.
Maybe don't go home with that person. Maybe don't go into business with them. But, also don't call them a bad person just because you've had a fit. It could have been your lunch.
But there are some people that you meet, and I've definitely been taken in by a few people, and then later on you go, "Oh no, you were an absolute shitbag," and that I've had that a few times, and it's and I've questioned my own sort of judgment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, me
it's
too.
like that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, I thought you were this, but it turns out you're that."
Yeah.
And then you go, "Am I just shit at?" But then these people are really good at putting it all over your eyes. So
yeah.
It's not you.
Yeah. Well, but it also is me. I'm extremely. It happens to me a lot. And when the same sort of thing happens to you 3 times in a lifetime, you have to say, well, apparently, I'm not very good at spotting it, or not only am I not very good at spotting it, there's something it appeals to something in me. Maybe the too good to be true. I want it to be true. Do you know what I mean? It's like
I do, yeah.
People often get me because they sell me something. It could actually be they sell me a thing, or they sell me a project, or a way of seeing the world. And maybe I've got a lot of naivety, and I want the world to be easy or magical or to be transformed. And so I think that kind of naivety absolutely falls for a certain kind of person.
I'm the same. Naivety
I think a lot of
is a
comics
great
are,
word.
to be honest. Yeah.
I think so. I'm quite gullible.
Yeah, well, I think you have to be. If you have that gullibility, it can be quite helpful in this business. Be quite useful because it's extremely hard. It's extremely unlikely that you'll be successful. So to be gullible enough to believe that you might be the one, you might be able to do it, and you might be able to be successful. If you didn't have that gullibility, you would never get started, would you?
That's true.
It's not a sensible thing to do what we do. It isn't a sensible thing to do.
No.
Unless you're James Acaster or, I don't know, a few outstanding, you need, and even James Acaster probably has it, you need that naive, rose-tinted outlook on life, I think, to get started, to get in.
Yeah, I think I know exactly what you mean. Again, I know what you mean. Yeah. Otherwise, if you were too logical, like you said just now, you wouldn't go anywhere. You go, that makes no logical sense for me to go and do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to stand in front of strangers, and I'm going to try and entertain them, and I won't have a lot of money for doing it, and I'm going to put a lot of work in. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But of course, that idea can also be used to ruin people's lives as well. Because, I can remember there was I hate talking about this, but I've started it now, so I have to. When I first started out, there was some really, really terrible acts on the open mic circuit. And it was staggering to me when I just started out. Or when you found out how long they'd been going, how rubbish they were, and then there was a sort of urban, what was they called, urban myths or something. And it was like, well, Eddie Izzard was like the famous comedian back in the 90s when I started, and they said, well, Eddie Izzard died every night for 4 years or something.
Yes, right, I've heard that. Yeah,
and so that was the thing. That was the sort of. And that was the belief that these people were having. Well, Eddie Izzard, the best comedian, got exactly the same response that I'm getting every night for 3 years. So, I've got another year to go. Another year to go. And then something will happen and I'll be... I won't be Eddie Izzard, but I'll be as successful as Eddie Izzard. So that was, that...
Yeah.
That... So,
I do know what you mean. Again, I agree. I went through it when I read Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up, and he talks about dying for years, like years. Every gig died. It was just death after death, and then you go, and then he became Steve Martin.
Yeah.
And you go, well, that's exactly what'll happen to me. And you go, well, of course it won't. What are you talking about?
But also, that's not what happened to Steve Martin.
No.
He didn't die every single night, because that's a great narrative, but how is that possible?
Yeah.
He has to be, he has to still be in the game, and you can't be in the game if it's not going anywhere. But that is the narrative that hooks you in. Oh yeah, you can fail every single day. Well, can you really? I don't know.
Do you find the people that I've met I was with somebody the other day actually that have become tremendously successful in the last 2 or 3 years, and still lovely people, still a lovely person, but they now have a look in their eye, very driven, very sort of focused on staying up where they are now, and I get and it's really I don't think I've ever had that. I've never had that kind of look in my eye where I'm aware of people around me, but I'm not really taking any notice. I'm kind of focused on where I'm going. I've never really had that, if that makes sense. It's that kind of, I can't describe what it was. This person is definitely, like I say, still lovely, but very different look in their eyes. That kind of, they're aware of what they had to be doing, and this had to work, this new material they were working on, and they were now up on this other level. And I've seen it a few times with people like that, where they're on the TV or they're doing films or they're doing something. They just have this look in their eye that they're engaged, but they're not engaged at all. It was weird. It's a weird look. And you must have seen that look as well.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know what it is. If it's sort of fear or
Yeah.
or some kind of weird trance, maybe. I think I like the idea of so a friend of mine, Hugh Wilborn, is a hypnotist, and I've never really understood hypnotherapy.
No,
And
me either.
one thing he said to me was, "Well, everybody's in a trance, Trevor. Everybody's in a trance. So what a hypnotist is doing is sort of redirecting a trance that somebody's already in, and people are in sort of different levels of trance, if you like. When you fall in love, that's one kind of trance. I mean, you've experienced this as yourself when you're in love, or when a friend is in love. They go a little bit crazy, and it's a little bit, and but what kind of crazy is it? It's like they're in a trance, and when the object of desire comes in, when he comes into the room or she comes into the room, it's a trance. And I think jobs in show business are a little bit like that, because show business it's the stuff of dreams. What is a show? A show is make believe. A good comedian, a good show puts the audience in a trance in a way. So if you're trying to make it in that industry, it's not surprising if you also get caught up. You become hypnotized, and then you can't quite see the stuff that you were seeing before. And other people, Rich Wilson, will notice, you don't seem to be noticing everything that's going on anymore.
I just found it. I've just seen it a few times, and it's always odd when I see it, because you go, and you've absolutely nailed it with that. Yeah, it is like a trance. It's like they're just in this, they're with you, but they're on another level. They're in another dimension, doing stuff.
You've been to, you've been in a situation where you've been around a famous person, and you've seen how it affects the room or the people, yourself. You've been the famous person in a room. You've been the headline act in a room, I'm sure, where all the other comedians sort of look up to you, and the people that run the gig treat you better than they treat the other comics. What's that all about? That's another sort of, you could frame that, if you wanted to, as another sort of trance, because you are the best one, because they've seen your face a few more times and you've made them laugh. All that, when they behave with you, it's different to when they behave with someone they've never seen before, who's only doing a 5-minute spot. I've countless times. It's just, I loved it. I loved it when I was the headliner and people gave me more attention. And it was an amazing thing. You'd walk in, and then after years of walking in and no one knowing who you were and having to, try to not pay a ticket to go to the show that you're supposed to be on, and then remind the booker who you are. Now, everybody's smiling at you and seems to be happy to see you. They don't know who you are, And then, and then how humiliating is it when someone who's famous happens to walk in, or more well known, or higher up the pecking order than you, and then suddenly you're cut, and the energy just goes away from you to the and I think that's hypnotized or trance-like describes that in a way. It's like the more known the face, the more social rewards there are for that's what dictates the behavior.
Yeah.
So this person you're describing, maybe that's what's going on there. You've seen it at the Edinburgh Fringe. It doesn't happen so much anymore, but in the old days at the Edinburgh Fringe, everybody would be there, and people you'd experience this where people would just be sort of going from just recognizing people all the time, just.
Yeah,
And you could see, and I don't know what it does, dopamine hits or serotonin hits, but every time a face is recognized, something happens and some chemistry occurs in the brain, and that's why it's a buzz for people to go to one of the reasons why it's a buzz for people to go and sit in the courtyard or go to one of the bars at the Fringe, because you're getting all these hits of. For us, it's lovely because we know everybody because we've gigged with them at one point or another. But for other people, it's, oh God, I've seen them on the telly. Oh, I see, And
it's funny when I've been around really famous people, how they're everybody around them is just running around after them, making sure they're all right, and because you're with them, you're getting treated differently.
Yeah, you're treated like you're sort of, I don't know, 2.5 or 3, and you might shit your pants at any moment. You might have a tantrum at any moment. You might run in front of a car. You can't do anything, I had it for about 5 minutes about 15 years ago, and I can remember distinctly a moment where I thought, what a twat I am.
Really?
Yeah, I used to. My rider was a can of Coke. I just wanted a can of Coke before I went on stage. And one day there wasn't a can of Coke, and I was like, God, all I'm asking for is a can of Coke. I'm not asking for what he's asking for next door. Christ Almighty, it's just a can. Hold on. Yeah, Trevor, it is just a can of Coke.
Yeah.
There is a vending machine in the foyer. There's a shop, but because you're treated like a 2.5-year-old, you're not allowed to go to the shop, are you? All the shops on the other side of the road. Oh, you're not allowed to use money. You can't put money in the thing because other people have I don't know. But yeah, you're infantilized.
You,
that's the thing. I mean, I feel sorry for people that become famous, because it's you've got to have a really good sort of center. You've got to have a good moral compass. You've got to have strength of character not to be corrupted by I don't know, that's what it was like when I was around all that stuff 15 years ago. I don't know what it's like now. Maybe famous people are lovely, but it was how could you not be corrupted by that level of infantilizing? That's what I think it is. It's sort of
course
you're not given moral agency. You can't, everything is taken care of for you, and bad behaviour is rewarded, not only turned a blind eye to.
Yeah, I think that's it as well. Now we're finding out that a lot used to be, it's that person's making us a lot of money, so we're going to just ignore
that's it. I think
what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I think now we're getting to a point where people are going, it doesn't fucking matter how much money you're making. You can't get away with it anymore. And I think that's why now people are starting to get outed a bit more and getting booted out of the inner circle because of their past behaviours. It's a funny old thing. But as you said, it used to be rewarded. They used to be rewarded for it, which is why they did it. They got away with it because they were getting rewarded for it.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was, but I worked with someone either on, I don't know. So they're like a writer, actor. They can do everything, and I can't remember for the life of me who it is. But it was a bloke, and he could act, and he could write, and he could direct. And sometimes he just acts, and sometimes it's his thing, and it's his script, and he's directing it. And of course, then he's also, probably rigging it, and he's just doing everything. He's driving the van, he's doing everything. And he said, but when he's the actor, he can't find a way to the airport. It's but when he's the director, well, he can not only can he find his way to the airport, he can make sure 12 other people get to the airport with their bags, and then once he gets there, he's already booked the hotels and he's getting there before, and then he's rigging the lights and everything. But as soon as he's the actor, well, how am I supposed to get to the airport? No one's booked me a car. I don't know how do I know which plane I'm going to get on? And it's that sort of, that's, I think that's what happens, and it's encouraged. That is encouraged.
It is, it is, and I think, and I there's been, especially when you're coming up and you don't upset anybody, and you see certain things, and you're like, I don't think that's right, but you don't know, you don't want to rock the boat, and you don't know what to do or what to say, so you don't say anything, which is terrible. Again, you're adding to it, but when you're coming up, you don't want to piss anyone off.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Have you ever been hypnotised?
Yes, I was hypnotised. I think it was 2022. I went to there's a festival called Buddha Field, and I don't know, do you know?
Never heard of it, no.
Well, it's you're not allowed to
don't know it.
or any alcohol, and it's broadly speaking. I mean, I'm sure in actual Buddhist countries it's probably illegal, but broadly speaking, a festival of Buddhism called Buddha Field, but it's sort of a therapeutic festival. And when you go there, it kind of looks like any other festival. There's money, there's music, there's people in wellies wearing silly clothes. Although there was a lot of nudity, I remember. I think that's the most willies I'd seen for a long time.
Aren't willies weird in the wild? They're just...
Oh, they are. Oh, dear, they are. And the bodies they're attached to as well. Don't forget that. It's not just the willy, it's who's willy.
They're never bodies you want to look at.
Yeah, and there's some that of them. This is the thing. Honestly, always want to look at the body that a willy's on when the willy's out. That's what I've noticed about myself. If there's a willy, I'll look at it and I'll look at who's got it, and then look again. But anyway, I went to Brookfield, and yes, I stayed a couple of nights, maybe just one night, and someone had, I don't know, one shows there, and someone had seen the show, and next day they saw me and said hello to the show. We sat down, and he made a chat. He said, and he's a therapist. Hypnotist, he's not a hypnotherapist. He's a stage hypnotist. He's got a show, and
right,
we were chatting about it without me asking. And he said, I've never been hypnotised. And he said, well, I can do it now if you like. And I said, really? And the next thing you know, he's hypnotised me. And it's an odd thing because, I was just sitting down on a log in this, at this festival outside of a cafe, and I've sort of bowed my head. I've closed my eyes and bowed my head because that's what he told me to do. And I'm just listening to him telling me what a great guy I am, and how everything's going to be fine, and I'm going to be really good. It's obviously worked, Rich.
Wow. So you don't
yeah,
remember
so
the bit in between?
well, it was in my mind. It didn't go. Would you like to be hypnotised? I can do it here now on this log outside this cafe in front of everyone, if you like. I just remember saying, I can do it here now. It's easy. I could do it now if you like. And then the next thing is I'm being hypnotised. So
That's
it was weird
frightening.
because I was.
That's frightening.
It wasn't. It's frightening now, but I remember at the time thinking, oh, so what? He's hypnotised me nothing. And I'm being hypnotised, and I was unable. Well, I don't know if I was unable, but I was unwilling. My doing that, listening to him telling me, not to be worried and everything's fine, and I was also there was thoughts in my head going, oh, so he's just hypnotised me then? Shouldn't he have asked permission? Well, I'm sure it's fine. No, he's not saying anything too weird. Okay, then. I guess this is what it's like to be hypnotised. I don't feel like I could open my eyes and lift my head up if I wanted to. But anyway, it's not bothering me. So, like I was like aware of it, but also aware that I didn't feel. I don't know whether it was, it could have been embarrassment, it could have been eager to please him, or not wanting to make a scene, or it would be awkward if I suddenly went, "Oi, mate, I did want you to do that." So yeah, I think that is the only time I've been hypnotised. I think it was tried on me a couple of times. But I'd say I his hypnotism was, but the trance kind of worked. What about you?
Yeah. I don't know if I'd be able to be, because I'm not. I remember when I've done drugs in the past, and I've been absolutely spannered, but somehow I've managed to keep one hand on the ground, kind of.
Yeah.
So I'm aware. I've never completely lost it, where I've gone, what the fuck happened? I'm always aware.
But that's what this was. I was aware all the way through
right.
it, and I would still count it as a hit, because I was going, oh right, yeah, this is, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing what he says. So I think that's what hypnotism. It's not like you don't know what you're doing. It's not like you're going to be barking like a dog and
I was going to say
everybody's strawberries. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, because you do see that stage hypnotists do that, don't they?
Yeah, you suddenly see someone doing dressage, and then they wake up and go, "Huh, what happened there?"
Yeah. Well, I worked with some magicians once who it wasn't. They didn't say they were doing hypnotism. They said they were doing a magic trick, and it was an amazing trick they did. And then someone else would go. I think the stage manager, I think it might have been Charlie Partridge, told me how they did it, and it was a trick rather than actually hypnotising these people. So that's what I wonder. Especially given that Hugh Wilborn, who co-wrote, what's his name? What's the famous hypnotist called in this country? McKenna.
Paul McKenna. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So Hugh Wilborn, who co-wrote all Paul McKenna's books, his definition of hypnotism is you're already in a trance. All the hypnotist has to do is just focus it.
Is it finally cut out?
It's it was going a bit slow then for a moment, but just give him a moment.
Yeah. He could probably hear us. We've hypnotised him.
Yeah, I think this is a trick, actually. I think this is...
He's just vanished. Trevor's just, he's just like mist under a door. Mm-hmm. He's just gone. Wouldn't that be funny? Yes. That would be hilarious. Like Kaiser Soze.
McKenna's looking after the internet, isn't he?
Yeah.
Not having this.
Here he is.
Is the buzz?
We were just saying, I've just messaged you to say, it was like a real magician, like you just vanished. Like it's a real David Is it David Copperfield?
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. That was great. Thanks for joining us today, Trevor. Sorry about that.
My pleasure.
It's been great fun. We mentioned at the top about social media. But where can we find you if you'd like to be found, Trev?
At the Trevor Lock on Instagram.
Lovely. There we are. And do you have anything to plug? Shows coming up or books to talk about?
Well, I'm doing reality games at the minute, and I might do another one. So reality games it's an online. It's in your life, but we meet up online. We do sort of experiments in perception, mindfulness. 5 people from all around the world, probably don't know each other. We meet up once a week. You're all given the same daily little daily things to do, and then you put together a little report that you present to each other online for a month and see how that changes your life forever. So I'm doing
Sounds
that.
brilliant.
If you can find me to do that, and then I don't have any shows that are worth plugging. I've got 3 shows in Tokyo. Begin in the middle of November. So if anyone
Fantastic.
knows Tokyo,
I'd love to go to Tokyo one day. I think I will. I'm just going to go. It's great. Thank you so much,
my
Trevor.
pleasure.
This has been Insane in the Membrane. This has been Trevor Lock. I've been Rich Wilson. We'll see you next time.
Insane in the Membrane.